Okay, greetings everybody. My name is Jonathan, and this audio slash video, I'll probably paste it to a video or something, is about my testimony of ministry that I have started and am starting, and what that means. This is about coming out of Babylon, which is to say confusion. It's not a location, it's a state of being, and a little bit about my journey therein. I hope to be an encouragement to others who have not gone this path, who have thought about it, who have found the path, whatever. It really is all about um, we take, even if they're invisible things, we take the invisible things and do something with them. The word says, "Cleanse yourself." Uh, even as you are. Wait, let's just the one that was I'm going to try and quote is to how you say, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. Oh, mortify the deeds of the flesh by the spirit. If you do that, you'll live, it says. So we got to grab the spirit and do something with it. And how do you deal with spirit? Words. So I study law to understand how to speak, how to understand the words, because the more I can understand, the more I am showing that I am approved. Okay, and so instead of relying on not having the words for things and tacitly acquiesce to stuff through forced contracts of carnal nature, quasi, there's just a better way to live. So, um, I'm seriously thinking that somebody out there, lots of somebodies, should be very encouraged by the way that I'm living right now. It dawned on me that I am a lot way too hard on myself and therefore have not been putting myself out there in the right way, kind of probably tacitly agreeing to people's fears, perhaps, when they see me with no social security number and no job and what their mind goes to. So therefore, I had been a little slack on my part and bearing more burden than I needed to, because I'm not what a lot of people are for fearing, unfortunately. And that's one of the beautiful things about when I got rid of my number, was that I realize now I'm not in that giant pool that everybody's subconsciously ensnared in by being in agreement with. Um, and so, um, if you are there, um, that doesn't mean I'm saying you're ensnared, and that because a lot of people that know it, that's knowing is more than half the battle. Remember G.I. Joe? So, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit about my life here and how I got up to this point. And I grew up, I did not have a dad. I didn't know, uh, you know, who he was. He left when I was 2. I grew up confused and on drugs, and that took me to jail where I belonged. I was quite entertained about how I was still alive in the back of a police car, because I knew that the way I was living, I was very serious. So when that happened, I realized that there is something bigger than me going on. And as a result of that, my life was changed. I'm thankful for the Department of Corrections, all the law enforcement and everything, and their communications and their kindness. They were the most polite people I had heard for a while, because I was in, you know, uh, a bad way, and most of the inmates didn't very well talk like they knew what a family was like. So, I was very encouraged, and my life changed, and I got out of there. Um, I, when I got born again is when I started going to church, and that was in custody. Um, I grew up always getting ready to hurt somebody, anybody, whoever was in my way. I had a knife ready to stab somebody since I was probably 4 or 5 years old. And that got confirmed with my aunt, who caught me under the stairs with a knife, which brought back that memory. So, yeah, I really was serious. And when I came into the Lord and surrendered, I found that my hands and feet didn't want to surrender with it. So I was kind of concerned that I might hurt somebody. And so as I faced this wickedness in my heart, I had to sit on my hands to go to church, okay? And, once or so I was shackled to a chair in a cold room. So that's a little bit about how far out I was. I'm thankful for God, who gave me a new life and continues to renew my mind and encourage me. And so what happens there after that was I end up making my way out of California, which you'll see the significance of this mentioning here in a moment. But I'm making my way out of California to Montana, where I've been at for 10 years. Currently, I'm in Virginia. I took a trip. And second time crossing the entire nation with no ID, no money, or nothing. And literally God's provision. He just keeps on providing through other people. Sometimes when I mention something, confessing what I'm doing, and sometimes not having said anything, perfect strangers just hand me money. And no, I am not living lavish. I have no food. Well, I got a few canned foods left, but don't let me paint a wrong picture for you, okay? This isn't the thing I'm trying to encourage people with is see how much I might, suffer, and my willingness and strength and fortitude, and how that's beneficial, and what that means for my situation, and possibly what it means for others because of my situation. Uh, More on that in a few. So I grew out of this system. Uh, anyway, when I left California, it happened to be the 4th of July, a day that I really don't care for because most Americans are trying to celebrate something they don't have, beating a dead horse. They're not free. Ain't nobody free. They're all bonded. And so it has been kind of hard seeing that, but that was my little Independence Day, was coming out of California. And then from California to Montana, interesting thing is another situation happened about 3 or 4 years ago when I gave up the Social Security number. Guess what day that was? And no, folks, I couldn't have planned it better myself. I had no idea. It was just such an awesome thing. This day that I decided to finally give up the Social Security number was on the day of 4th of July. And actually, I only was going to get off the disability because I found out I swore an oath, which God said not to do all throughout the scriptures. Even in James, he says it's condemnation. The Lord out of his own mouth said don't do it. So, yeah, swearing is bad. Swearing doesn't just mean saying foul language out of your mouth. It also is a different story to promising to do something. Anyway, so um, I got out of uh, when I got to the place of um, how you say, deciding that, I went to the Social Security office and I talked with them and asked them, you know, I let them know thank you, and I come to find out I was the very first customer that ever got off of Social Security in the history of the Social Security Administration. I don't know if that's nationwide or statewide, but it was definitely something they said they'd never seen anybody do. and it was very humbling. Okay, very humbling. Um, this had led to me further rescinding the social security number that same day because of the way that it all unfolded. And they were being, the lady was being real mean, and she was like, we're not going to stop, you're going to keep receiving your benefits, and you're just going to keep, we're going to keep sending them to you. And I was like, okay, yeah, you could, I guess you could keep sending it to me if you want, and I guess I'll just have to figure out what I'll do then at that point. Okay, great, thank you. you know, and I left that counter with both her and me smiling, by the way. I was very honorable, but she got real angry with me. It was crazy. I said, I know for sure I'm on the right track now. So, I dealt with that, and so now I've got, for 3 or 4 years now, whatever it was, I've got no number. I called them, of course, asked them, do you want a legal document when with me stating facts, or how would you like it? Handwritten? Like, what would you like for me to notify you of my forfeiture of the social security number that I found in my possession that does not belong to me, so I'm returning to you because it says so on the card? How do you think? And she said, oh no, just write it out on paper, no problem. And she tried to say something about some kind of warning about, I don't know what it was, paying taxes or something about jurisdiction or something. And I quoted some laws to her, and she said, "Oh yeah, you're right. This is you're not. You'll have officially no benefits and privileges with us." So she said, "We will come and test you though, to make sure to try to come check you out to try and make sure that you don't have that this is true what you're saying." So I'm like, "All right." So there that was. That call went through. I had a great time. The feeling was great of freedom, of knowing that now I am not tacitly or otherwise anyway in agreement with that. And so my feelings changed towards people, um, because you see a lot of people are angry trying to hold something up that's collapsing. The whole system is going down anyway. And it's just attached to a lot of feelings, and people don't want to let go of stuff, and they're just basically eating each other alive, not realizing how unhealthy it is. And this is true. I'm seeing the very fruit of why God says it's a curse to do this, to swear an oath. And, swearing an oath doesn't, it could be expressed or implied. You can merely say more than yes, like it says in James, or if somebody says, take out all the money out of your pocket to prove to me how much you have. And you do it. You took the action to do it. That's also an oath. All right. So it's no good to do that stuff to prove nothing to nobody. Um, there's no faith in it. That's why probably God hates it so much. Um, so anyway, here I am in my life with no social security number, and I have been um, in a lot of situations. Um, I have, um, let's see, I have kind of thinking about wondering if I should get interviewed so that I can have someone interview me so they could ask questions and stuff, be more prepared to touch on topics so I don't get all over the place and stuff. But, yeah, I've got so much knowledge in my head. It's like if I try to sit down and write, it just does nothing for me. But when I'm talking to people, I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta write that down and that down and that down too. So, but when I was younger, coming back to like who I am and stuff, like when I was younger, I remember my grandpa, I think it was, held a dollar in front of my face and said to work for it. I thought that was the stupidest thing in the world in my mind because I was like, well, wait a minute, that's ridiculous. Like somebody made that and I'm gonna work for it because they made it. Like, why don't I make my own and you can work for it? Like that's how I thought. I was like, at a little, young child. I was like 7 years old maybe. Anyway, it just didn't rub me right. I knew something was up with it all, and I never partook in the credit system at all. I never, one way or the other, cared for it. Um, and so, I mean, even if it comes to like rent, like I'm not doing nothing. I'm not proving no in my background. I just never did anything with that junk. I never had an interest in that. Uh, so, uh, and I didn't know Jack. I didn't know nothing about law. I didn't know. I didn't have the words for it. I didn't know it was a statutory benefit. I found that in a law dictionary once. Social Security number is a statutory benefit, and you see it's public law, so that's obvious that it's a statutory thing. Um, so yeah, I had like 30 dictionaries at once, several, probably 60 books altogether, law books and so on. And I was studying all the time on the computer, on the phone. It was 20 below out once, and I was studying in my van. My fingers all frozen and freezing, and under a sleeping bag with a wood stove. You know, this is how I lived. I was surviving, and I'm so serious. I'm trying to tell you who I am here, so that you can know who I am, and that way, perhaps I could be of benefit. Maybe someone wants to support my cause. Um, you know, because it's not me. It's not about me. I'm in a situation to be able to help people. I'm in a very peculiar situation that people don't often get. And that is because I have clean hands. I haven't been using the number. I have been free already for over 20 years. It's been since I worked on paper. And guess what? Since I worked at all, my conscience is clean. I have not worked for money since I got born again, which is actually 15 years ago. But a job on paper was over 20 years ago. So I already have over 10 years experience, although I had the disability benefits there for a while. I already have over 10 years of experience of just getting what I need from God alone. I go out, I pray, ask the Lord, how can I be of use to someone today? And I'd go out and uh, help somebody out. Oftentimes, I try to help people out, and I'm the one getting help. One time, I had a car that was breaking down at every stop, and it just started back up. I finally made it like 30 minutes into town. I was in Montana. I was like, I'm gonna go minister to somebody today. I'm gonna go share the gospel. I'm gonna do something for God today. It's gonna be fun. Let's go. That's how I am all day, every day. And so I was like, I was going with this beat up car. And I know I'm going out there to help somebody else out. And I end up stuck in a parking lot at a grocery store. And then somebody comes along. And instead of me helping somebody else out, they took my car into their garage and fixed it. And now I'm able to help even more people out. Now I could drive more steadily. So that's how my life has gone. Every time I go out to do something for someone else, what I need gets done because it's not about me. So I don't have to go out and work for no money because I have that background now. Other people aren't there yet and may not want to be there. Um, so that's perfectly fine. I'm excited and grateful to be where I'm at because I'm the one I'm used to people. I'm of use to others in a way that no one else is. And I have time for people where no one else does. And so this has been a real benefit in my life. I always envisioned doing something different every day of my life. I could be sitting down praying and fasting for a few days. I could be reading my Bible, singing hymns and worshiping the Lord, or doing this, that, and the other, or going out serving other people and helping them. It's all overcoming my own flesh, laying myself down in line and suffering, continuous suffering. There's a lot of scriptures about suffering, and I value it. So what I'm working towards, guys, is making a trust, a ministerial duties trust of some sort. I don't know what I'll call it, but it's going to be broad strokes. Okay. One of the things I like the most about this is I think it'll be like a freelance ministries service. Okay. And there's going to be plenty of Bible scriptures about what the ministerial duties of the trust are going to be, which is going to include and not be limited to fasting, serving God, ministering to God, fasting and worshiping, giving Him thanks, praising Him, praying, seeking Him, interceding for others, standing in the gap. That's going to be part of the ministerial duties. There's also going to be, obviously, ministering to people as going to be one of the focal points. The reason why I think I'll put the ministering of the duties to God is kind of a confession of faith and to be well rounded. I want to be outside the box because a lot of times people create a ministry and, like, oh, I want to go help people on drugs. That's cute and all, but I don't think that's what God meant. When He said wash people's feet, I don't think He meant wash people's feet. I think He meant you need to humble yourself to a position of being able to wash someone's feet. Because if you're in that position, you could do anything that they need if you humble yourself. And so people can get often really blindsided, thinking that, oh, my ministry is this, or oh, my ministry is that. Then they think that there's the confines of their focus. And really, it doesn't, you're doing something, you're trying to at that point do stuff for God. You're not really doing it with Him and through Him. Although He is with people and He will and always does bless people, especially when you minister to the poor. And it's a big deal to God to do that. And so, there's the idea that I'm having is to have a boundless ministry so that way I don't get caught stuck in some square box somewhere where I could be put on a shelf or, whatever. So it always has to be able to change at any given point because I have ministerial duties to God and others, and I don't think it should be limited to just, oh, I'm going to help people get off drugs, although that's going to be part of it. But one day I could be doing that, the next day I could be counseling somebody. One of the biggest pet peeves I've had in churches, which I'm not trying to get down on people for, one of the biggest issues I've had was just confessing where I've come from in the Lord. And whenever I have issues, they want to go try to find somebody that also was on drugs to minister to me. That's ridiculous. The Lord Himself said He suffered all things. And so then, how many people do you think are out there claiming, like, oh, God never did heroin? Oh, He never fornicated with a woman? Like, what are you talking about? He suffered everything as He did. Well, He overcame and withstood all the things that are involved with those things. And here they are. They're called pride, envy, lust, gluttony, selfishness, hatred, variance, strife, emulations. I can go on, right? These are the things: fears, resentments, unforgiveness. And yeah, there is a difference between those. resentments and unforgiveness, and they're also in some ways synonymous. So you just have all these realities that are happening that he's faced. So while he may never have gotten drunk, he faced all the things that underlie the drinking problem. Resentments and fears and so on. He dealt with those things valiantly, and he had an A+ job at it. So the point I'm trying to make is that he really overcame in all areas, and so knowing that I don't need somebody who understands my problem. I need somebody who understands the solution. I don't care about that. So that's kind of how I want to build my ministry, is to be able to think outside the box ministry, treat others how I want to be treated. I didn't get enough support because people thought they were inadequate. They were doing a really good job up until the point they thought they had to get another addict to help me. Because I think oftentimes, you know, people are like, I want to fix this. I want to feel like a lot of times people get into that trap of wanting to know that they're making a difference. And if they can't see it, they don't want to be part of it. And that's not part of God's word. God's word says to do what is right. One person sows, another one reaps. One person waters the seed, the other one gets to see it grow. Um, so these are just duties, ministerial duties that I'll put on my trust so that I can obey every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, that means that's what's on paper. And this trust will be private, as in not that no one can see it, but it's not going to be part of public law, which is to say there's a whole lot more rights involved inherently. So it's a less hassle of a thing. So that's what I'm looking at building, is a kind of a freelance ministerial duties. And I figure that the efforts that I'm putting into the way that I live and the outlines that I've got, all that I'm lacking as of yet is a lot of the physical needs that I need to have met. Because a lot of my healing and a lot of all my stuff's changing. It's all changing right now. Um, Prayer can take it all out, and is taking it all out, all the problems and all the stuff, like years and years of trauma. I was in 10 car accidents in a 4-year period of time, and so on. I grew up real confused, and I went through hell for what I have. And like I said, when I was studying law back in my van in Montana when it was cold, I did things like, this is my mind frame, okay? And I continue to live this way. I didn't have any money of my own, and I was running out of gas, and it was 20 below out. And I just think, well, how can I go bless somebody else out? How can I go help someone else? Like, forget this. I don't need to worry about myself. I'm part of the team. I belong to God. And this is so awesome. So who else can I help that either doesn't belong to God yet, or does? And how can I be of use? So on the way to doing that is when I get my help usually. So I called up this lady and um, told I asked how she was doing. She asked how I was doing. She always did really good at that. I never really, was always thinking I'm checking on her, and she was always ministering to me. She's, she offered me $40, but hey, listen, gave me the gas to keep me going. But you know what? I was ready. I was ready for the ship to sink. Maybe if this ship sinks, then God's going to bring me somewhere else to fulfill his promise, and it wasn't going to be through that means. So I just thought, well, I'm going to suffer it out. If I got to die, I got to die, but I'm going to do it helping people. And so God has upheld my cause continuously like that. Every time a really bad situation happens. One of the worst situations lately was me feeling really bad and kind of feeling rejected. And, I grew up with that a lot, having dad left and mom, I reminded my mom of my dad. So it's kind of tough for all of us. I, you know, ended up walking down just recently, a few weeks ago. I was going down about a month ago, actually, into under this bridge to get out of the wind to like kind of think and mope and cry about, whatever. And I thought maybe I am going to be one of those homeless people and sleep under the bridge or something. And on my way down, the police officer stops me and asks if I need somewhere to sleep. I told him, I surprisingly said yes. He said it in such the right way, like respect. And he ends up driving me over there and ministering to me and just sit down and we ate together. And he didn't do any cop work with me at all. He didn't ask me, he kept it at a first name basis and he didn't bother. He didn't do any cop work. The sincerity was there. The blessing of the Lord was, and I just, stuff like that happens to me now. Another night, uh, uh, state troopers bought me a hotel room. I'm walking down the street and I had this big backpack. I see the state trooper getting into his vehicle. So I walk up to him, say, "Excuse me, sir." As soon as I said, "Sir," I went down and go put my backpack down. Start walking over to him. I said, "You believe in God?" And he goes for his pistol. I'm like, "Wait, no, I didn't mean it like that." I just wanted to ask to see if you would be willing to pray. And he asked me what I needed. And I was trying to say prayer, but he asked me what I needed again. And I said, "I don't have a place to stay. I don't know what to do." So he put me in a hotel room for the night. And then the lady at the desk asked if I had ID. I said, "Nope." And she looks at the officer like, "What are we going to do with this guy?" And he just asked if he could put it on her in his name. And then I got to minister to those people at the counter. There was a few people at the counter, so I got to share when the officer left how that all unfolded and like God's hand everyone saw at work. So anyway, just cool stuff like that keeps happening, and I have a lot of experiences, a lot. Okay, so um, I put myself last. Okay, my job is full-time ministry. I am becoming a saint, and becoming is a key word. And as such, those who would know scripture would see that certain things are not allowed in any way, shape, or form as becoming a saint. Okay? And so this is why I want a ministerial trust to outline these things, because I want to honor and respect man's law and those that uphold it. And I want to, in doing so, honor God. Because as an ambassador of the kingdom of heaven, my job in being in the kingdom of this world is going from that kingdom of heaven that's within me to this kingdom of the world and honoring both and not dishonoring anybody. If you notice, God did give Satan jurisdiction of a sort. Ephesians, it says they're the rulers of the darkness of this world. They don't rule the whole world. They're the prince. He's the prince of the world. Just like if you take a piece of the pie, now you have a piece that's of the pie. It's just, just going to be destroyed because the earth is being destroyed. And the enemy's lot as well. But anyway, the fun thing is working on this stuff and completely surrendering. So I have been Social Security number free for about 4 years. On paper, I haven't worked a job in over 20. And I also have clean hands for that. I haven't lifted my finger to work for money at all. I hope I can say that without triggering people to think that I'm trying to say that they're in the wrong for doing that. This is my walk that I'm confessing to before God and others. And so I continue to desire to have nothing more interesting than for me to just minister to people, okay? And whether I live, I live. If I die, I die. That's the fun part about it for me, guys. So, I uh that's it. So if you're interested in supporting this, which I should think that there's lots of people that would be like, wow, yeah, because um, it's a real deal thing, all right? And I'm not interested in proving anything to anybody, by the way. If you want to know, it's going to be out of the kindness of your heart. Don't ever try to give me anything with trying to think that I owe you an explanation of any sort now. That should be an unspoken rule if you're doing it by faith and the fear of God. That if you as a believer would contact me to ask me how I'm doing or what I'm doing, and you want me to give an answer for myself, you have that right in the Lord to do it. But the minute I start feeling like it's you want me to prove it to you, like if I owe you something, now we have a problem because I'm not getting into debt with nobody. So while I do have the debt of loving others and giving an account and submitting one to another in the fear of God, there is no fear of God if you're doing it out of um, thinking that I have to answer to you in that way. That's kind of why, and it's so been interesting that I have never been able to nail anything down at churches because I don't like to let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. I like to keep myself in a position of knowing that I'm absolutely in faith and that I'm not making just agreements with men. Um, the not swearing part is really crucial to me because that means I'm in faith. If I start swearing any oaths in any way, feel like I'm trying to prove something to somebody, well, now I'm not in faith. So if somebody gives me some money and then I run off, it has to be given in love. Love is freely given. It has to be a goodwill offering. I don't accept anything else. I don't want, man, I want to minister to this guy because he's doing great things for people and then expect that I get to have a say in his life after I do it. When I walk around and minister to people, I don't need nothing hanging over my head like, oh, I got to answer to those folks that gave me that $200. What about that 2 grand the other day? Oh, I got to make sure I toe the line. No, I answer to God. That's what this trust is about. By the way, I don't know how to make a trust, which I'm not too concerned because I know that God will help me. And if any of you out there feel like you have that power to be to able to minister to that, um, that is some things I'm looking at. So I have all the principles, the legal philosophies, and all kinds of information and knowledge. The only thing I lack is putting everything on paper. So I'm already living it. Clean hands, doctrine. Yeah. And so I'm standing by the grace of God. Um, I'm in a tent right now in Virginia. I just traveled from, let's see. I might do video uploads and video logs. I don't know. I don't really, never really, I always veered away from doing stuff like that though. Maybe I'll make private ones. But just because the idea behind that for me is the Lord said in His Word, "Hitherto I have much to tell you, and you're not ready." So there's things that He wanted to tell people, but He wasn't going to tell them because they weren't ready. Well, there's a lot of knowledge now on the internet. There's a lot of people who are not ready for that knowledge, and unfortunately, they have the access to it because teachers of God are not aware how that works. And so um, a lot of people are getting taught things they're not ready for. They don't know their audience, they don't know who's watching, and all that. It just doesn't seem to sit well with me. I don't think I'll be partaking in it unless I find some kind of correction and some kind of maybe I'm being too whatever, but I could look into that. So, for now, that's where it is with me. And so I just wanted to share. I think I touched on about everything. Uh, I'm in a great position. Also, my one of my big goals is to end up intervening for people in the courts between man's law and the people of God, or the people that might meet God through this or whatever. I want to minister to people who need help at law. I already have a friend that's doing it, so I know it can be done without that silly all the credentials and stuff. So that is what I'm working towards. As you could imagine, me not working for money, having this jump, having suffered all these things for all these years, being in this position and seeing this door open to this possibility, and it's like, whoa, what is this guy gonna be able to do? If you think about it, it's a whole nother jurisdiction. If I stand in faith and don't sink like Peter did, continue to believe, and not that it's bad to sink in the faith. I mean, it happens, and I think it's going to happen, but you know what I mean. In the most crucial moments, when the world is watching and they need somebody to reflect God's character, because they just need to. Everybody like that song, everybody's searching for something. So, yeah, my guys, if you can help anything, I've had these shoes for 7 years. I'm gonna keep on them. They're boots. Someone tried to get to replace them with some whatever $100 shoes of some sort, and these are leather. Okay, that's why they last for 7 years. And but my shirts are like not even barely passing my belt. Like they're too short for me. Like all of them, and I could really use some help. I could use some help to help others. Um, I haven't traveled in a car because what I'll end up doing with that is making in the ministerial trust, putting the vehicle in that trust so that presumptions can be squat. So there's no presumptions about me being a U.S. citizen. Don't have to worry about that when you have a trust. And put it in the trust and finally get traveling again. I will be doing traveling, not driving, stuff like that. Having a good portfolio of all my information for that. Um, I would like to get help with that, but again, all I really need is a trust so I could put the car in it and move, right? I don't have a car either yet. I'm not concerned about that. I've had cars given to me before. Like I said, I've been serving God for a while, and I ask the Lord, and He just gives me what I need. So I thought I'd make this testimony here to hopefully encourage people out there. If you want to see somebody doing the work, here I am. I am firsthand living proof for those who are studying and wanting to learn. Um, One of the situations I get into, I'm going to go on a little bit more here. One of the situations I got into was I was going down to a church in Virginia, and I won't say which church, but I did anyway, I asked the church for a ride because I was kind of sick and weak, which is, for me, I need to be in church the most. Always love to hear the word of God. And I know most churches are businesses, but I give them the benefit of the doubt. So that way, if I ever get to tell them that the nature of the, the, the church is the way it is, it's a business, it shouldn't be like that. When I bring that information to somebody and they're willing to change, I can grow with them. But if they don't want to, then I can, keep moving. And that's pretty much how it's been. It's been pretty great. I don't like to judge people beforehand. I know that they're doing it, but at least they don't know they're doing it. So I'm not going to judge them just by that. I'm going to judge their actions, not them. Their actions are going to dictate whether I could be part of their life or not. And, for growing and repenting, when we found out truth, we're going to take the truth and not try to, go for the, what is it, red pill? Anyway, so I went to the church and they missed me. The ride they were sending missed me. And so I was like already out there walking for so long. And as I was out there, a police officer comes up to me and he asks me where I'm coming from. He drives up to me and says, "Where are you coming from?" I'm not, he didn't tell me nothing. He didn't tell me his business. He didn't say anything about nothing. So I just told him, well, I wouldn't have to be coming from anywhere if you didn't mind giving me a ride to church. And he said, sure, if you don't mind giving me an ID, show me your ID. And I realized at that point, I was like, okay, something's up. So I said, oh, no, thanks, man. I'm just gonna, kind of dismiss him, start walking again. But before I did start walking again, he tried to press the issue more and asked me, is there some kind of reason you don't want to show me ID? And so I just looked back at him and I asked him, I'm sorry, sir, is there something wrong here? And he looks at me and says, nope. I said, great, okay, well, take care. And I just start walking away and he drives off. Um, and later on at the church that I was walking to, there he was, parked. So I was like, this is really odd. So I went up to the front door. Two scared people came out. And, they were all kind of nervous and kind of beating around the bush. And I was like straight laced. So she told me, finally confessed, I'm the one that called the police. And, we have to do that nowadays. Churches are getting bombed and all that. I was like, that's going on around here? She's like, yeah. And I was like, wow, I never knew it was that crazy in the East. So she had me convinced they were so afraid for a minute. But then I started talking about it. I started asking around. I said, nobody's like, no, what are you talking? There's nothing like that going on around here. So I was pretty surprised anyway. And, you know, my point is, I guess, and, of course, I was going to leave. I told them it's okay. It's probably a bad time to come. And, I was kind of trying to be gentle to let them know, like, how can you teach me what faith is if you don't have any? And 1 Corinthians 6 says we're not supposed to go to law against anybody. And they're calling law against me. I confessed Jesus and told them I was born again for 15 years and wanted to ride to church. And here they're dishonoring the name they bear, and they don't even know it. It's blasphemy. It's to call police is degrading to the name of God that we bear, and there's no faith in it. Not supposed to do it. It says don't go to law before the unbelievers. That's not cool. So that's what they did choose to do. Anyway, I was going to leave, and they said, no, you can stay if you want to leave your backpack outside. And I just said, well, why would I do that? I said, well, because, we don't know you, and we don't know what's in your backpack. And I said, no, thanks, I like to deal with my fears. I'm not going to soothe your fears just to be part of this. I'm out of here. Thank you, though. And I very much tactfully did not say it like that, by the way. I was very respectful and told them no thanks, and I did tell them why. But yeah, anyway, that would be if I showed them what was in the bag or left it outside. Again, this would be the form of taking an oath. You may not see it that way, but when I see their intentions and they're telling me why, it's one thing if they just said, set your backpack down here when I came in, here, have your backpack right there. Okay, sure, no problem. But once you sit there and tell me, oh, because I'm afraid and we don't know who you are and all that. Now I'm supposed to be partaking of your fear? No thanks. My Bible says stay at home if you're at fear. Tell them to stay at home if they're at fear. Deuteronomy. Stay at home if you have fear, because lest you make your brother's heart faint. Okay? So, this is more examples of not swearing oaths that I take and the extremes to which I go, which it hasn't been fun. Some churches I get dropped off at, and, they want that backpack. And, well, I'd rather want that faith, so I'm going to do myself a favor and not listen to anything you guys have to preach, because it sure ain't about having faith in God, because there is no faith needed for me to come into your place right now. And then we're not going to be in faith. You might be sleepwalking. You might talk about how you once had faith or what you once saw in faith, but you ain't in faith now. And I didn't want to be into any of that. Want it on my all day, every day. So you guys, that's kind of what I'm about. And I figured, yeah, like I'm in a good situation, right? Like jurisdictionally, cleans hands, my feet is walking in the way. I may not have a lot of the physical things in the world, the worldly things, but I tell you what, the clean hands which I have, the ability to form a trust when that comes, should I get the help or have to figure it out myself or whatever, however it goes. Once that goes on, I become more ability to have transportation. Um, Once all of these, it's gonna be fun, because I was in Montana for a few years, just studying and studying and studying the woods and experiencing quiet and nature in a different way. And now here I am, and I'm just thinking, there's a lot of people that are going to want to see even some of what I've already been through, let alone what's going to happen next. So this is a very awesome opportunity. I'm like at the head, having a head start of most people who want to break out, and I'll have the details. I already do have the details and knowledge to show people how to respect others by learning how to honor God and man and man's law. And so at some point, I look forward working hand in hand with police, going to the sheriff's office, going to the police, letting them know who I am, and taking the cold shoulders that people might give me for thinking whatever they're thinking because of all the knuckleheads they met before me who talked similarly, right? So I already know all that. I know how to pray for people and deal with it. And so I'm just very encouraged, and I think that a lot of you guys that are into this law stuff as well should be too. So yeah, if you want to contribute, let me know. I'm not having a number. People have been sending me money to to people that I'm around, whoever I happen to be around. But but I don't know, if that's not necessary for you or whatever. I just hope that I'm an encouragement. So if nothing else, you could keep up with me, uh, Lord willing, and if I could continue to provide contact or information or whatever, testimony, whatever, bearing witness to the things, because again, I'm having a first hand experience on contracting and learning how to do it, and I'm risking it all. So in other words, I'm all in. I mean, let that sink in for a minute. How many people do you know? Most trying to get the paperwork first, and oh, I can't give up this unless I get that first. Like, people want to have their backup plans and contingency plans, and I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that at all. I believe I like what Denzel Washington once said about fall forward. If you look that up on YouTube, if you haven't seen it, Fall forward. Don't make a plan to fall backward. Fall forward. Go forward. That's what my life has been. I have lots and lots more testimonies. Time would fail for me to tell them all. But here I am. I keep feeling like there's something I'm missing. I think I want to say something. I'm going to take a brief moment and be quiet while I pause this audio before I turn it back on to close. Just to see if there's anything else. I've been talking for a whole hour now, so yeah, thanks. Just a second. Okay, so I'm back now, and the thing I'm thinking is, because of the situation that I'm in, if anyone wants to contribute to a number of the aspects of this cause, to the Lord Jesus the Christ, who is the Son of God, whom I am serving. If you feel led to partake in that, there's a number of ways it would benefit, whether personally for me, getting some things I need, like a shirt, so I can actually look a little decent, or whatever. Whatever the case, from this least to the greatest of issues, you could be potentially helping me in my personal needs out. You could be potentially helping me in paperwork filing needs out. You could be potentially helping me in ministering to other people. Supporting my cause can potentially help me to potentially help others. Being in this jurisdictional situation I'm in, it's a huge step up. I mean, people who are suffering at law need somebody like me. They do. Because I'm not saying I'm ready to go to law and start whatever, I'm not saying none of that. I'm just saying that that's where it's going, because that's where it's just my passion, or my it's just what makes me, it just makes sense to me. It never did. I literally never saw this. I abhorred the whole idea. I was growing up as a youngster, and I was always detail oriented, always rebuking people, always standing up, saying what's up. I was always in the streets and everything. I was Mr. Call It Out, deal with it and everything. And my stepdad told me that I would be a good lawyer, or a judge, he said. And he was dead serious too, telling me I should be a judge. I thought he was nuts. I thought he was flat plumb insane. Well, guess what? It's looking more and more possible, guys. I'm surprised to ever say that coming out of my mouth. From the dirt, rags, and to things from then to now. It's like... But, yeah, I continuously when I'm hitchhiking, I keep meeting really cool people. Judges and lawyers, attorney, public defenders, people that have traveled the world all over the place. I meet all kinds of awesome people. It just lets me know, like, every time I get in the car, like, yeah, I'm a lawyer. Oh, yeah, I have something to do with law. I'm like, or real estate, those are the ones that I keep ending up around. And it lets me know class is in session. The class of life is here and now, and I get to be a part of it. And I'm very thankful for everyone who's taken the time to listen to this hour-long thing here. I don't know if I'll have a video or just a visual effect or not, but again, I thank you very much for your time. And especially having been able to get these words out, because ministerial duties to God is what I want to be able to use to show for the law, for so I could be a gentleman gives notice. It's only right because their assumption of law the nature of assumption requires, when you go to change out of being assumption of law, that you would have to go above that and give notice to rebut the assumption and presumption. So, being that the case, here I am. And again, I thank you very much. I'll be around, Lord willing. I'm calling it a night now. So please take it easy, and may the Lord's will be done. Every knee shall bow, whether of things in heaven or in earth. Yeah, thank God. Thank God for it. So I speak all these things in the name of Jesus the Christ, aka, or better known as Yeshua, the Son of God, the Lord, and King of Kings. It's in His name that I speak these things in His grace.